following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, I'm Carl Seidel, host of The People's View. The People's View is a show sponsored by the Nashua Republican City Committee. The committee meets every second Thursday at the Crown Plaza. And if you want to contact us, we have a website, nashuagop.org. And at the end of the show, you'll see some contact phone numbers or email addresses that you may want to send us your comments and recommendations. Thank you for listening in.
Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
Hello, and today we welcome as our guest Andrew Hemingway, who's candidate for governor of the state of New Hampshire.
Yes.
Andrew, how's things going so far? You're coming up on the primary, and you and Walt Heverstein are the two people that are fighting it out.
Yes. It's going very well. We're doing great. I think I was on the show back in maybe April, or maybe time frame, something like that. We were talking about just kind of getting started and getting out there. Well, we've now completed over 220 events.
Wow.
All across the state of New Hampshire. We've been in, I think, almost every town, you know, that where they allow Republicans. And we've been just having a great time. And you know, sharing our ideas and solutions with the people of New Hampshire has been a very rewarding process, and we are getting very good feedback and building a very big, strong, you know, broad base of supporters, and think that we're going to do very well in this upcoming election.
Well, what do you see as the major, say, three major issues of this campaign?
Sure. I mean, they're summarized by my platform, which I see as education is a vitally important issue, which our state really needs to start taking a strong, you know, long look at, and to really open the dialogue with the people of New Hampshire about our education system. And as I've traveled around the state, I've met with, you know, literally thousands of parents talking about the education system in New Hampshire today, and either its successes or its failings. And there are parents out there today who are continuously telling me, one size doesn't fit all. You know, my child just doesn't fit into the model that we're being forced into. And we need other educational opportunities. We need to be able to explore other avenues. And so as governor, we have, you know, candidate for governor, we've put forward ideas and solutions, ways to expand educational opportunities for everyone. You know, not just wealthy families, but also ways to expand educational opportunities for those who are presently living in poverty. And so we're really looking for opportunities around education. That's probably the first issue.
So that includes a voucher system of some kind, or what?
Yes. You know, New Hampshire is one of three states left in the country who still has what's called town tuitioning. And at the local school board level, the school board can actually vote to allow tax dollars to follow your student. And what I love about that, Carl, is that would open up competition in the educational space. You know, you would essentially create a market where private schools or online schools or charter schools or whatever, you know, types of opportunities,
pick
right?
Whatever's good for the student.
Exactly. And allow the students to start to have some direction in leading ultimately their educational process. I'd love to see the New Hampshire public schools start to be able to specialize. Matt, we've seen Massachusetts do this very successfully with their technical and occupational schools. I'd love to see a school for language arts and performance, a school that specializes in science and math. You know, much like the Academy has done here in Nashua, has been very successful, has a huge waiting list. You know, I say, why don't we follow these models? Why don't we see something that works let's look, to expand that. And what's interesting about the charter school here is they're using a flipped classroom, and flipped classroom essentially allows for greater interaction, more group learning inside the classroom. Some of these models, I think, really need to be discussed. They need to be looked at, and I think that we really need to encourage local school boards to start to adopt
to look at that,
broader models.
I've been there to the academy, and the students really enjoy it. I mean,
of course,
they love it.
Yes, I have not met a student yet who doesn't enjoy learning. Right?
Right.
No one does. But I remember my own schooling, especially in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. The way that I learned was not the way that I was being taught. And I struggled. I had a hard time with that. My daughter is very similar to me in 1st grade. She loves to learn, though.
Yeah.
So how can we use that native, that natural love of learning? How can we encourage that, incentivize that? And I think one of the ways we do that is by being open, being willing to accept that, hey, we all learn differently. So let's allow for different people to learn in different ways. Our one-size-fits-all system we have today isn't working.
No.
It's not working. And so I say, let's be open to that. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not saying you did this, it's your fault, it's your fault. No, it doesn't matter. How do we make it right now? And I think there's opportunities for that.
That principle probably can also be applied to healthcare. Absolutely.
And that is the second thing which we do. I didn't even have to cue you to take me to my next point. It's perfect. Healthcare is as we travel around, the thing which, honestly, seniors are most concerned about in our state today. Almost every stop that I've made, someone has asked me about our healthcare system. And there's a great amount of unrest, I would say, about what's going to happen. They've either lost their doctor, they've lost access to their hospital, or they're afraid that it could happen to them in the next month. You get a letter from your health insurance company and you're wondering what's it going to say. And that is happening on a continual basis for the people here of New Hampshire.
So that's some of the things that you'd correct, though?
Absolutely. We have put forward solutions for this. There's a couple of things that I think we need to look at. One is, how do we get more health insurance companies into our state to compete? And Governor Hassan right now is talking about how there's 2 more companies coming, But in 1993, there were 22 health insurance companies. Why is there only 1 today? And why is it a big deal if 2 more companies come here? And the truth is, the 2 companies coming are going to serve a very limited sector. They're not actually coming in a full market offering. So it's sort of disingenuous to say that, but we need more health insurance companies here in New Hampshire. We can do that by rolling back the community rating, by rolling back the insurance mandates which have been placed on these companies over and over and over again. I was recently told, oh, well, there is no market in New Hampshire. And I said, no, there is a market in New Hampshire, but we have regulated insurance companies out of the market.
Right.
And that's what we have done, through our state legislature. Let's roll back that regulation. Again, make New Hampshire an attractive market for health insurance companies to come and compete. They do that. It's the only sustainable way to lower the cost of health insurance. But I think there's 2 sides to this equation. The cost of health insurance is linked in some way to the cost of health care. And in New Hampshire today, we have what's called the Certificate of Need Board. And the Certificate of Need Board is essentially hospital executives who determine whether or not new hospitals can be started. Well, they all have incentive to say no new hospitals, no, your doctor can't offer a new procedure or buy a new machine, right? We need to remove the Certificate of Need Board. 24 companies in the United States or 24 states have removed the Certificate of Need Board. I think we need to follow that, allow for new growth in the healthcare provider market that will also lower the cost of care by introducing competition. And I think we'll see a stabilization of the healthcare market and hopefully some peace brought to patients.
Well, would you compare the right-to-work plank that you have with opening business to everybody?
Absolutely. If we passed right to work here in New Hampshire, we would be the only state in New England to be a right to work state. And honestly, I've always seen the economic evidence of right to work and felt very positive about the opportunity for a worker to be able to choose whether or not to join a union or whether or not to have dues automatically withdrawn from their money.
Okay, yeah.
It's their money. They should be able to choose whether or not that is happening. And in New Hampshire, you don't have that choice today. So I would love to see that. And I've always seen the economic evidence, but when I sat down with companies all across the state of New Hampshire, that was the first time that I really saw the importance of this issue to the private sector. Yes. One company I sat down with said that they opened a new plant in another state simply because of this reason. It's one of the biggest reasons. And so we really need to pass right to work in New Hampshire. It could be an economic boom for us. And it's something that as a governor, I'd be looking to do as soon as I possibly could.
What other economic plans do you have for expanding the economy?
Sure. We are, I'm a small business owner and have built and sold companies here in New Hampshire. My father was an entrepreneur here in New Hampshire. And I understand the small business owner and the small business voice. And we have seen over the last 10 years, over 120 new taxes and fees levied on small businesses in our state. You know, we can only sustain that level of taxation, that level of regulation for so long before companies start leaving. And that is what we have seen. Almost every metric of business friendliness or a good business climate that you see in New Hampshire over the last 10 years has been consistently declining, one after the other, year after year, regulation after regulation, tax after tax. So what we've decided and what I've put forward is in working with a couple of economists who are here in New Hampshire, we've proposed a business flat tax. And the business flat tax eliminates the business profits tax, the business enterprise tax, and the Medicaid enhancement tax. And what it does is it follows Ronald Reagan's model, which is broaden the base and lower the rate. And that is exactly what we're doing in New Hampshire. We are able to lower the overall tax burden by 42% on small business owners. And at the same time, we're keeping it revenue neutral because we're broadening the base. And anyone who participates now in New Hampshire's economy is also participating in helping to fund it. And I think that's a very important piece. We've also lowered the interest and dividends tax. You know, this is really a tax on senior citizens. It's an income tax that only senior citizens pay. And I think that for a state that brags about having no income tax, we need to be more honest about that. I've lowered it as much as we possibly can in my proposal from 5.5% to 2%, taking 3.5% off of that. Those are also the folks who invest in small businesses, who give money to start seed capital and things like that. So that also helps to incentivize the small businesses, frees up some capital perhaps for them to be able to get going. So,
well, from what I understand, New Hampshire is one of the greatest places to go for some seed capital, angel investors and stuff, because there is a number of people that have money to invest. That's
correct, yes. I mean, we are one of the, at the same time that we're aging, you know, we're one of the oldest states, we're also one of the wealthiest states. And a large part of that is because folks retire here, you know, and when they retire, they bring their 401ks and pensions, and it adds to their net worth. But we need to make sure that those folks are able to use that money in creative ways instead of just simply paying taxes on it. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do.
And, you know, I agree with you. Broadening the tax base is the way to go. And it's surprising that our opponents don't look at it at all that way.
No, they don't. They instead continuously, as much as they talk about wanting to help the middle class, every policy they put forward ultimately is destroying the middle class. We have seen median home income over the last 10 years decrease year after year after year. The people of New Hampshire are earning less money than they were 10 years ago. You know, that shouldn't be. We should be going in the other direction. We should be raising that median home income, making sure that people have the opportunity to grow and to prosper. And ultimately, if we start doing that, that's how we're going to be able to control the cost of living. That's how we're going to be able to keep more of our young people here in our state. That's how we keep getting more jobs growing in this economy. Ultimately, we need a breath of fresh air in this state.
We have only a couple minutes left. Is there any other issue that you think you want to mention?
There's one other issue that revolves around the economy, and that is the regulation. In New Hampshire today, to become an EMT, you have to take 30 days of training, 30. To become a hairdresser, you have to take 350. That doesn't make sense to me. Those types of examples of regulation are just
limiting.
Yes, they're limiting. We're wildly out of control. We're disproportionate for this just doesn't make any sense. We need to look for ways to start to roll back some of these archaic regulations, allow for, once again, the free market to make some of these decisions themselves. We don't need to be a nanny state. And right now, that's the direction that we're headed. I think we need to, let individuals breathe, let them create jobs.
Yeah, and we started something in the 2010 legislature that I was in that I think just stopped, is having a one-stop shop for anybody wanting to start a new business, so they know who they had to see, what regulations they had to follow, and all that sort of stuff at one location.
Yes.
I understand they do that in Canada. Why can't we do it here?
Right, we absolutely can. And this is a part of obviously my plank. My background is in technology, so implementing technology at a higher level in our state is vitally important, not just for cost savings, but for efficiency, and also for exactly what you're talking, just ease of use.
That's right.
Right now, when someone wants to start a business, they don't even know where to go. If you Google how to start a business in New Hampshire, you come up with all sorts of different answers here, there, and everywhere. There should be one source where we can go to and find the forms we need to fill out, or maybe we could fill those out online, which would even be a huge advancement. Lay out for us, what are the fees? What do we need to do? Who do we need to report to? And one of the challenges that I've noticed about our state is the agencies don't ever talk to each other. One agency is an island unto itself, and the other one's an island unto its, how come we can't start to communicate between ourselves? If someone opens an ice cream shop, well, they've got to talk to DRA about rooms and meals tax, and they've got to talk to this department to get an inspection, and there's a lot of moving pieces. I think we need to make it easier for our citizens and start to facilitate some of that conversation.
Well, sounds good. Let's hope that we get some of this stuff implemented next year, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We've run out of time, though.
Yes.
And we'll have you back if
Thank you.
After the primaries, maybe?
Yes. Primary is September 9th.
That's right.
So,
and here in Nashua, we have some new polling places, so
Great.
people have to get used to that.
Right. Well, good. Looking forward to it.
Okay, good enough.
Carl, thank you very much.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.